This video was actually recommended to me by one of my subscribers. And the thing I love about this channel is that he doesn't go with the generic things that everyone else does. So he looks at things that other channels haven't looked at. In this particular video, he's looking at 5 Australian inventions. And these are things that a lot of people don't know were actually invented in Australia. A lot of these I wasn't aware of. So let's have a look at the 5 Australian inventions that this guy has talked about.
Today we're going to be reacting to a different kind of video. Actually, a lot of you had suggested that I'd react to Australian inventions. So I'm kind of curious about Aussie inventions, aside from, like, I guess the obvious, Vegemite. I'm sorry, I don't know what else, but that's what we're here today to react to. Aussie inventions you might not know.
If you ask the average Australian to name a great Australian invention, they're most likely to say Vegemite or the Hills Hoist.
Oh, wait, what? That's a clothesline, right? You can close it. My grandmother had one of those. Actually, I think we had one when I was younger. You guys invented that? Okay.
We also invented the best form of childhood entertainment ever, which is swinging on the Hills Hoist. If you want to take it one step further, you get an old rope from your mother's scouting equipment that has a loop in the bottom of it, and you can actually put your foot in the loop, hold onto the bar, and man does it swing. Not that I would have done anything like that. Yes, we invented the Hills Hoist. It's not just a clothesline, it's the Hills Hoist. It has that cool little lever that allows you to wind it up and down.
They might also mention the Victor lawnmower or the stump jump plough.
The Victor lawnmower. Okay, they might talk about this, so we'll probably learn about it a bit.
Okay, I'm going to hazard a guess here and say that the stump jump plough is actually one of the ones where each of the blades is hinged so that if it hits a root or something, it will lift up and then it kind of forces itself back down. That is what I'm thinking they mean by a stump jump plough. If anyone has better knowledge, let me know.
These are a creative and innovative lot and have contributed a lot more to humanity than just gardening equipment. Here are 5 great Aussie inventions you might not have known about.
Okay, only 5. Okay.
In 1905, Australian engineer Anthony Mitchell patented a new type of bearing called a fluid film thrust bearing, or simply a Mitchell bearing. The Mitchell bearing had tilting pads lubricated with oil. As the load on the bearing varied, the pads would automatically pivot to the optimal angle for most efficient running.
Genius.
At the start of the 20th century, this bearing was revolutionary, pun intended. It could sustain enormous thrust loads with minimal wear and without overheating, while being much more efficient and only 1/10 the size of the bearings it replaced.
I'm thinking from looking at those images that perhaps this is what is used at the hydroelectric places at like Powattina and Laiwini in Tasmania, because it looks very similar. They're definitely worth looking up. Maybe I should do a reaction video to them at some point in time.
Within a decade, they had found almost universal application in large pumps, generators and ships.
I know a lot about bearings and mechanics, especially, I grew up working on vehicles with my dad and stuff. That's genius what he did. I don't know if I can underestimate or overstate how ingenious that invention is.
British to adopt Mitchell bearings in their warships, until they discovered that the German Navy were using Mitchell bearings in their World War I U-boats, which gave the U-boats a range and speed that surprised the Royal Navy, and made the U-boats a much more effective weapon.
Yeah, it did.
As well as being efficient, the low wear of Mitchell bearings means they need little maintenance and are very reliable. A Mitchell bearing installed at the Holtwood hydroelectric power plant in Pennsylvania in 1912, supporting 165 tons of turbine and 40 tons of water pressure, is still in operation today. That bearing has been estimated to have a maintenance-free life of over 1,000 years.
Wow. When they make these bearings, they make them to last over 1,000 years. That's just phenomenal. And it looks like it is such a simple concept.
Mitchell bearings, for their strength, efficiency and reliability, are still used on all large ships, power plants, pumps and turbines today.
So we actually have a big dock out where I live, and a lot of it is container ships like this. But yeah, see, that's how great that invention was. It's still used to this day in stuff like this. I mean, yeah.
It's pretty cool that we do have inventions like that, and that's one of many that has basically found its place for eternity, essentially. You know, it's used worldwide and almost taken for granted. And when you say to people that's an Australian invention, they're like, are you serious? We're actually a pretty smart bunch here.
Froth flotation?
At the start of the 20th century, mining was a much more wasteful process than it is now. The extraction processes of the time meant that miners were only able to extract about 70% of lead and as little as 50% of silver from their ores. Even large amounts of gold wound up in useless tailings piles. At mine sites around the world, there were huge piles of waste material containing vast quantities of valuable metal that no one could extract. In 1901, Charles Potter, a brewer from Melbourne...
Should I be surprised that it's partly revolving around beer?
You know, he's got a point there. Now, I'm not a beer drinker myself, but seriously, give an Aussie bloke a beer and he'll solve the problems of the world.
After seeing how bubbles in beer lifted the beer sediments to the surface of the vat, realised the same process could be used to separate valuable minerals from crushed rock. After testing the process with a sample of ore, he patented the technique. 2 years later, a plant using the flotation process to extract zinc was built in New South Wales. The flotation process has been refined and improved by many individuals and companies over the past century, and more than 99% of a metal can be extracted from its ore. Froth flotation has been described as one of the most significant advances in metallurgy in the last 1,000 years.
Thanks to beer.
It's funny when you think that some of the simplest inventions are actually the best.
In 1952, a group of chemists at the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation, or CSIRO.
Okay, first of all, confession time, I didn't know that was what it actually stood for. And also, is it only Tasmanians who call it CSIRO? Because he called it CSIRO, whereas in Tasmania it's always been known as CSIRO. Random thought, I'm curious.
Led by Sir Alan Walsh, developed the atomic absorption spectroscope, a device able to detect minute amounts of different elements in materials ranging from soil to blood to wine. The spectroscope revolutionised chemical analysis and is now used throughout the world in laboratories, hospitals and factories.
I've used them.
Atomic absorption spectroscopy works by vaporising a small amount of the material to be studied and shining a light through the vapour. The atoms in the vapour absorb specific colours of the light, leaving a fingerprint of their presence.
Again, alcohol. Come on, guys. I've used those. My good friend owns a brewery here, and I've been there. We've done that. He's shown me. I had no idea it was an Aussie invention. Next time I go, I'm going to have to let him know. It's an Aussie invention. You guys are amazing. Now, there's only 5 in this, and I can't wait to see what the last 2 are. But I'm sure there's many, many more. You guys have told me about a lot of inventions that I should check out.
This gives a very accurate indication of what atoms are present and in what amounts. Apart from being an extremely valuable tool for analytical chemistry, the spectroscope kick-started Australia's scientific instrument industry, now worth more than $1 billion annually.
Now, while I probably couldn't explain it back to you in full how that all works, I have to say there are so many things that the CSIRO have come up with that have had an impact worldwide. So the fact that this one invention is now earning billions of dollars for Australia is pretty cool.
We have those in Canada.
Another technology developed at CSIRO is used around the world every day, the polymer banknote. Plastic banknotes are much more difficult to forge.
We have those in Canada. I'm going to show you a couple here. So we have this guy. I'm going to get rid of that video for a second. We have them here. See, this is the $5. This is Sir John A. Macdonald, first Prime Minister of Canada. On the back of it, we've got the Canadarm, which was attached to the International Space Station, made by Canada. I think this is the first one, but we also have Canadarm 2. Same thing, plastic, not paper. And then it's the $10 bill. And the $10 bill has Viola Esmond. It actually goes this way instead of, like, you know, which is kind of cool. But on the back of it, it has, what is this one here? This is the Canadian Museum for Human Rights on the back of it there. So this is our $10 bill. Same thing. It's plastic. It's so much more durable than paper. If you're an American watching this, you have no idea how great this is. It's so much better. The only thing is we can't say, will that be, are you paying by paper or plastic? Because it's all plastic. Well, polymer, plastic, same thing.
Okay, so while I did know that this was an Australian invention, I didn't realise that they actually had them in Canada now and in England. It actually amazes me that America hasn't adopted using polymer banknotes, because, like, it's so behind the times to have paper money.
Yeah, we have that. You guys invented that, though. That's so freaking cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Australia. I love it.
Features such as clear windows, holograms, special inks.
There's a Canadian one.
Designs. They last much longer than paper notes, and so
That was a Canadian one.
Multi-layer. Operate security features such as clear windows, holograms.
Right? Is that not like it's our other $10 bill? I think it was a different one. It looks like a Canadian one though. Yeah, but it does, man. It's got like a lot of cool stuff. Like this little image thing in here. I mean, the holograph part here, which is kind of cool. You know, a little bit of Parliament, and yeah, it's so much more difficult to forge. In fact, I don't know if I've ever heard of a case of a Canadian polymer currency ever being forged. I don't know. Maybe there was, but I've never heard of it.
Special inks and multi-layer designs. They last much longer than paper notes, and so are cheaper to produce and have less of an impact on the environment. They last longer because they don't tear as easily and don't fall apart if they get wet. Tricks like this.
There you go, Canadian. So that green one is our $20 bill. Has the Queen on it. The $50 bill, I can't remember who is on the $50 bill, but that's kind of like a brownish color bill, and that's at the end there. I think that's a 50. No, it's 100. 100. See, 50 is kind of a reddish. 100s are brownish. I can't remember who are on those two. We don't see them as often. 20s, 10s, 5s. We used to have $2 bills, but we don't anymore. And I think many, many years ago we had $1 bills as well. I've seen them. I actually have an American $2 bill that is paper. You know, I didn't even know Americans had $2 bills.
Wow, like it was the 80s when we got rid of $2 notes. And it was actually 1984, because my brain is full of useless facts, that we got rid of the $1 note. But I'm pretty certain it was quite some time after that we got rid of the $2 note, wasn't it? From memory. So, wow, you know, America still has $2 notes.
But I have one. My bank here won't accept it because Canada doesn't, like, no banks in Canada actually have $2 bills from the US to give out. So as a result, they won't accept them back because, you know, it's a currency exchange kind of a thing. So they don't accept them here at my bank, at least. I don't know if all banks are that way in Canada, but my bank won't accept the $2 American bill. So when I do do some tourism work with tourists locally, and I get tipped. Some Americans every now and then will tip me a $2 bill, and I just kind of give those to friends and family. I gave one to my barber once. She thought it was really cool.
Okay, so I guess they are novel gifts to give people. And if someone was like, here, have a $2 American note, I would be like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But at the same time, surely there's got to be like places that do currency exchange. Like, not necessarily banks, but like an actual place where you go to exchange currency. Or is that a thing of the past these days? I would have thought you still would have had to have had that.
These decades ago. More than 20 countries, including Brunei, Thailand, Britain and Canada, now use Australian-developed polymer banknotes.
Wow, I actually had no idea that it was more than 20 countries. Meanwhile, America, you are so behind the eight ball here.
No way. Now this impacts me and my family. I have family who have relied on cochlear implants for so much. So for those of you who don't know, I have deaf family members and I'm fluent in sign language. And I actually do a lot of translating for family. And my cousin, who I grew up, like, we're very, very close, still very close. But she moved to the US. She lived there for about 20 years. She came home for 3 years and just moved back again recently. And I'm so heartbroken over her moving back, but completely understand why. Her daughter, who is in her early 20s now, needed cochlear implants growing up. I will say this, and this is the heartbreaking part. It breaks my heart that she was bullied a lot because of that difference, of that look. And she sounded different when she tried to speak. So right now, with her implant in, she can hear and she can speak. But because she was subjected to bullying so much, she refuses to wear it and she refuses to speak. She will only sign.
Now, he goes off at a tangent quite often through this video, and I've edited a lot of that out. But this particular story that he was saying about his niece being bullied because of the way she spoke because of her deafness, I left that in because it just made me so sad. Like, what sort of world do we live in when people get bullied for being different?
So, yeah, there's that. But this, wow. Oh.
Hearing aids improve the lives of millions of people every year, but they are essentially amplifiers, replaying the sounds they pick up at a higher volume, and so they can't help the profoundly deaf. Beginning in the late 1960s, Professor Graham Clark began research into cochlear implants, installing the first prototype in the ear of a deaf man in 1978.
Wow, 1978. I actually really thought that the cochlear implant was a much, much newer invention than that. At the back of my mind, I think I was aware that it was an Australian invention, but I didn't realise how long ago that it was invented.
Cochlear implants bypass the most delicate and so often damaged parts of the ear by transmitting the sounds they pick up as electrical signals directly to the nerves in the patient's inner ear. Since 1978, many thousands of people around the world have benefited from the implant. Australian researchers continue to improve the device and develop new technologies for hearing loss. These 5 inventions are just the tip of the iceberg. Aussies invented super strong spun concrete pipes, tower cranes, the deceptively...
Ah yes, the Aussie giraffe. Right now, when you go through Melbourne, they're just everywhere at the moment.
Aussies invented super strong spun concrete pipes, tower...
That I have here as well. We have those working in our shipyards. I mentioned earlier about the boats, right? You guys invented that too?
What else? The deceptively orange black box flight recorder.
I've always wondered why they call it a black box. It's orange. Why do they call it a black box?
That is a really, really good question. Why call it a black box? I guess orange box doesn't quite have the same ring to it.
Is it because like what's under what's like because obviously this is like pretty well indestructible. Once they open it up and take it out, is it black inside? Is that what they take out, like the hard drive or whatever, the recorder? I don't know. Do you know why it's called a black box? Let me know in the comments.
Recorder. Extended wear contact
No friggin' way. Extended wear contact lenses.
lenses. The pacemaker.
What? Y'all just fixing everyone's health right now, aren't you?
I really don't think that the rest of the world comprehends the advances that Australia has made in medical science, or, well, in regular science as well. Because you could do an entire video about advances in medical science that are thanks to Australians.
Cochlear implants, contacts, pacemaker. Thanks to these inventions, by the way, I have family members that have had much more, I guess, successful and beneficial life thanks to these Aussie inventions.
And have made major contributions to IVF and ultrasound.
Ultrasound. Oh wow. So you didn't invent, but made contributions, major contributions to IVF and ultrasound, which is of course IVF, pregnating women who can't otherwise get pregnant, or struggle to, and of course ultrasound, so you can see the baby. That's phenomenal.
The list goes on. I'll leave you with a bonus invention.
Oh,
Wi-Fi. Sort of.
what? Sort of.
Where would we be without Wi-Fi? Probably not sitting on the couch watching this video right now. While Wi-Fi often tops the list of Cyro's greatest inventions, Cyro did not actually invent wireless LANs.
That's quite the list.
What they invented was a way to make Wi-Fi faster, more robust and more reliable.
Okay.
The Wi-Fi signals being transmitted around your house bounce off walls, furniture, you and even the cat. Your Wi-Fi enabled devices hear a cacophony of echoes which garble the data being transmitted, and those echoes are constantly changing as you and the cat move around the house. To prevent this, the data transmission rate would have to be slowed down so that your device can pick the signal out of the noise. Cyro invented a way around this. Cyro scientists drew on their expertise in radio astronomy, a field of research where weak signals have to be separated from all sorts of noise.
I'm going to say right quick how interesting I am in this. This is why I'm just...
Okay, this guy definitely has to see the dish. And I will say, anyone who's watching this who has not seen the dish, it is an absolutely classic Australian movie, and if you've not seen it, you really do need to watch it.
I work in telecommunications as well, right? I work around internet and Wi-Fi, and of course it's a part of everyone's life. I've got 2 bloody freaking cell phones, both of which I use daily and require Wi-Fi. The computer that I'm currently recording this on is my desktop, but it's Wi-Fi connected to the internet. Yeah, I have a tablet here that I use to control everything you see.
By splitting the data transmission over a range of neighbouring frequencies and then using clever algorithms to quickly piece the
If
information,
you didn't notice, it was Star Trek.
Wi-Fi devices can transmit and receive much faster and more reliably.
Now, I edited out a lot at the end of this video because he was really geeking out over his setup for creating videos, etc., his Wi-Fi setup and everything. So if you enjoy that kind of geeking out, definitely hop over to his channel and check out the original video. I've cut probably at least 10 minutes out of the original video, so it's worth it if you do enjoy what he's showing here, and if you enjoy when someone goes off on side trips and talks about other interesting things. definitely worth watching the original video. So the link for the original video will be in the description down below. So thanks for listening. If you're new, please subscribe, hit the like button and leave a comment below.